Last time we saw how we could write user-defined functions in MATLAB, and here's one of the functions that we wrote. So we were trying to figure out the area of a pie so that we could guesstimate the size of a pie. And this works great. We talked about how we can then, once we define the function and save it in a file with the same name as the function name, that we could come down and call our function, passing in an argument in our function call, right? So that the argument could get passed into the parameter that we specify up here, and we get back an answer. The area of our pie gets calculated by the function. Now let's say that we decide we also want to know the circumference of our pie. We want to make sure that we know all the dimensions of size of our pie. We could write a separate function, or we could just ask for both the area and the circumference back from a single function. So if we want to get multiple values back from a single function, there is a syntax to do that in MATLAB. Let's go ahead and add the calculation for the circumference of our pie. So the formula for the circumference of a pie is 2 times the diameter times pi. And so, pi times the diameter, and so that's 2 times the radius. All right. So now we want to return both area pi, which we were returning before, and this circumference pi variable. So what we do is we go up here. We're already returning area pi. We add that we also want to return circ pi. And so the two variables, or three, or however many we want to return from our function, are enclosed inside square brackets and separated by commas. This looks a little bit like the syntax for creating a vector, and it's similar, but we're not exactly creating a vector here. We're returning two separate values, and we'll see why that matters in a minute. So we want to make sure we save our function. Again, if we come down here, now if we call our function just like we did before, we're still just going to get one answer back. If we want to see both of our variables, we have to actually provide two local variables to store them in. So we provide using the same syntax, right? Square bracket, multiple variables separated by commas. Then we have the rest of our function call. So now you can see that in the same order that we listed them in our function up here, we got two values back from our function call. So we have the area and their circumference. So you can use this for as many return values as you'd like from your function. If your function doesn't need any return values, you have a couple of options. You can leave the square brackets blank like this, right? Or you can actually just leave them out altogether, right? Although in this case, we do want both the area and the circumference of our pie back. But the return, the way you list return values for functions in MATLAB is flexible enough that it can accommodate pretty much anything you would need. You can return 0 values, 1 value, or many values. So when you're trying to decide what to return, what you want to think about is what do you need from your function? What role does the function serve in your problem-solving process? And that will help you decide how many of the variables from inside your function you want to return, if any.